Got a big idea but not sure where to start? Shopify makes it easy. From stunning templates to AI tools that write your product descriptions and boost your marketing, Shopify helps you build, sell, and grow fast. It's trusted by millions, from startups to brands like Gymshark and Mattel. And with 24/7 support, you're never on your own. Turn your dream into with Shopify. Start your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/dax. That's shopify.com/dax.
You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this is
Tobias.
And this week we're talking about everybody's favorite damn dirty ape. We're talking about Bigfoot. But before we get there, Tobias, how was your weekend?
Oh boy, I had a great weekend actually, and it was full of stuff that we can talk about on the show that's actually appropriate to what we do. So that works out great. I was on a little research trip for this book I'm working on with my friend Richard Estep. And we can talk about it now because we never signed an NDA or anything. We're writing it for Llewellyn Worldwide Publishing. And the only reason I was kind of vague about it up until now is because we hadn't really talked about it. And I didn't want to be that guy, going out and talking about this thing we're working on when we hadn't really discussed how we were going to talk about it in public. But we talked about it and we're like, well, fuck it. Let's just tell everybody and we'll just talk about it in detail, because really what's the harm? And so we are writing a Mothman book for Llewellyn, and we're going to include obviously the Point Pleasant stuff, and I'll be headed out there later this year, which you already know. Mm-hmm. And we are also including all of the stuff in the Midwest and the Great Lakes, and sort of even further abroad than that, to try to get the whole picture. And so this past weekend, Richard flew in from Colorado, where he lives, and we went around to some of the sighting locations near me. So really near like the Rockford area in Illinois, Chicagoland, like that general area. And it was really cool. Like we had a great time. I was able to introduce him to some witnesses, and just generally kind of show him, some of the places where people have been seeing this thing around here. And of course, by no means was I able to actually go to every single place that I had ever investigated or all of the witnesses I talked to, but I think it was a good sort of overview to give him some idea, right? Like as much as you can fit into like a day and a half, So, but it was good. It was really good.
That's awesome. Did you find any Mothman nests or feathers or red contact lenses?
Just like dinner plate sized contact lenses.
Yeah.
No, I unfortunately did not. It was one of those things too, where I was very upfront about this too. I was like, I don't expect to see anything. I never expect to see anything. Especially when it comes to something like this, because it's so often, or I should say so rarely, repeats in the exact same area. Even if you look at some of the most famous sightings, or arguably the most famous flap from 1966 to 67, right? Now, the same general geographic area, sure. But like the literal exact same area, like a haunted house where you can just stake it out and maybe see a ghost or something. No.
Yeah.
Almost never. So.
Doesn't work that way. I wish it did. Wouldn't that make our job so much easier if it worked
that would be
way?
fucking great. Just stay put, Mothman. Just hang out in one spot. Just pick a spot. Stay there. Right.
No, that's a lot of fun. Did you guys get to do any investigating or just kind of checking out the area?
Yeah, well, investigating in terms of like interviewing witnesses at the sighting area. Yes, we definitely did that.
Very cool.
I I initially had 3 witnesses set up, but one of them had to cancel, which was fine. We ended up going out and doing some other stuff instead, which was just as cool. But on Saturday, I had 2 witnesses lined up, and we were able to interview them. And I had already talked to these people, but I thought it was good to get Richard out there because he has different questions than me. He's going to think of different stuff. And we were able to interview them at the actual sighting area. And so, there was an element of investigation in terms of being able to investigate and corroborate the details of their sighting. So if somebody is talking about seeing, say, a UFO in the same area as their Mothman sighting, then we can dig into that and sort of investigate that sighting to see the details of that phenomenon. So yeah, I mean, there was a good amount of that. The day before, when we had the witness cancel, we ended up going out to a sighting area that I was pretty familiar with, and it's a pretty cool area, just so I could show them around and really give them an idea of sort of the typical sighting location in so much as that exists. Sort of it can look, because it's almost always a natural area that is close enough to where people live that people go there or drive by there or are in that area, but not so close as to be truly urban or anything like that. So you get a lot of reports from small towns, like on the periphery of small towns, even like out in the suburbs of Chicago, even because there are a lot of sort of natural areas out there that people, I don't think, realize exist. There are these natural areas that, while not truly remote, seem at least a little lonely. When you're actually out there, because there aren't a ton of people around, but certainly people live nearby. Which, I don't think that there's any undiscovered biological creature that we would call a Mothman that lives in these areas, but for whatever reason, they do seem to be where the vast majority of sightings come from. And we saw that in the Ohio River Valley sightings. It was the exact same thing, So
Yeah,
interesting
definitely.
stuff.
Very cool. It sounds like a great time.
It was. How was your weekend?
Oh man, I did a lot. I have some not high strangeness stuff and some high strangeness stuff. So why don't we get into it?
Yeah.
So I'll start with the not high strangeness stuff. Friday night I went to the local hot air balloon festival, which is actually some type of hot air balloon competition. I'm not really sure if there's like a winner. I don't really know how it works. It
Did they
doesn't
make them
matter.
fight?
Yeah, the hot air balloons fight each other, and
Nice.
only one survives.
I'd
So
watch that.
that'd be pretty dang cool.
Just like a demolition derby with hot air
With
balloons.
hot air balloons, yeah. Fuck
There's
yeah.
dozens of casualties every year. Yeah.
It's a great time for the family. Um, no, it was neat. I've never been. I guess it's like a huge deal locally, and I had no idea. Got to see a bunch of hot air balloons. I did not go in one. I could have. I probably should have, and maybe I will next year. But for what it's worth, it is pretty cool to check out. Hot air balloons are big. I mean, they're just a lot bigger than you think they would be until they're, right in front of your fucking face. And you're like, oh my God. And there's 20 of them. It was actually very much, like the concept of like liminal spaces and how people find them disturbing.
Mhm.
It was like that. I mean, they were really imposing. Like, I didn't think I could be afraid of a hot air balloon before, but like I was. Don't know. Like I said, I guess when you're surrounded by 20 of them and they're all blown up and they're right in front of your face, you're like, holy shit, this is intimidating. And I don't like that hot air balloon's going to kick my ass. I don't know. Maybe I should leave.
they're just too big. Okay. Could you deflate these hot air balloons a little bit, please? Like, they're really aggressive at this level of inflation.
My anxiety was like, what is going on here? I was so conflicted. Like, logically, I'm like, there's literally no reason to be afraid of what you're seeing right now. It's really cool. Just enjoy it. And then my anxiety's like, you got to get the fuck out of here. Like, you shouldn't be here. It was a very odd feeling, but fun nonetheless. Of course they had like they had skydivers too all day long, and like you could do like plane rides at all these like little planes that you could ride, and
Neat.
yeah, the skydivers did like they were sky and they made me nervous too. They were skydiving, and at one point in time they did like a fireworks show where they were shooting off fireworks from like their shoes with some like mechanism, and of course that made me nervous. I don't want to see someone die at the hot air balloon festival.
Right.
But hey, they pulled it off, and I've never seen fireworks shot out from feet of skydivers before, so that was a new experience. So anyway, very fun experience. I will definitely go next year. um my sister, actually my brother-in-law, he has a family member that owns a hot air balloon business, and I just know that, like, they rode the hot air balloon one time, they crashed into a tree. I mean, they were fine, but, um, I want to ride in one, but, maybe not.
Yeah,
So,
I guess I don't I don't really get the attraction necessarily. I don't even like riding and like flying in planes.
right. It's like I don't have, if I were meant to fly it, I'd be a bird, right? Like that would be my life, except they're not real. But,
Right.
here I am, a human, and, I don't know. Like I said, we'll go next year. But yeah, I think I'm afraid of them. I don't know. Well, I have to unpack that one in therapy or something. I'm conflicted. It was really cool, but also very terrifying.
Right.
And then of course we went to the one of the county fairs here, and that was fantastic. Fairs are neat. I love stuff like that. I love a gimmick. I'm just here for that shit. And so, I love everything about a fair. And we, petted some animals. I bonded with one bunny rabbit and one goat, so that was great.
Nice.
I wanted to bring them both home, but I live in an apartment and have two cats already, so I wasn't
Yeah.
allowed. But
I wish I could have goats.
they're so neat.
They
They're
are
they're
neat.
they're really neat. And the one like it wanted to be pets. Usually they just want to eat
Yeah.
you, your clothes, whatever you have on you.
Sure.
This one like wanted to be pet, but no, I love them. I've said it before on the show. They're like cats. I mean, they just do whatever the fuck they want, and I just respect the hell out of that.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to like just have like two goats that
Yeah.
that live in my backyard, but we're not allowed. Like our village just doesn't allow it. So
They're not having it. They're like,
right. Well, I mean, because
you know.
we can have chickens. We could have. I could put in a pond. I could have ducks or whatever the hell else I want.
No
But
good.
we can't have goats, and I don't think we can have pigs either.
Well, pigs are horrifying, so like
Yeah.
they will eat you. They don't care.
Well, I mean, but they're smart. Yeah, they're smart as
They
dogs.
are
So
very smart. So
you
yeah.
if they like you, they probably won't eat you. Like my dog could eat me, but he's not gonna probably.
Truth be told, if I could have every animal, I would. So I mean, it doesn't. I'm not. It doesn't matter to me how dangerous they are. I would pretend that they love me.
Right.
Even as
That's
they're
what people
eating me.
do. Yeah. That's what I mean. Reptile owners do that shit all the time.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah. I'm
not?
like, oh, you love me so much, you want to keep me forever. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, no, that was cool. And of course it brings up, at the fair, they always have something chintzy, right? They always got some type of entertainment. Back in the day it used to be really fun stuff like frozen Bigfoot or whatever, the
Yeah.
hand of Bigfoots. They don't really have stuff like that anymore, at least not here. And it is unfortunate. Instead, they've kind of switched it up to um various animal shows, and that can be kind of difficult because people have feelings about that, and rightfully so. They can be, they tend to be kind of not great for the animals, right?
Sure.
But they did have two different ones this year. Last year, I talked about it before. It was sea lions, and it was sea lions again this year. And so they had their sea lions back doing all kinds of neat things. And then they also had one with wolves. And of course, I go and I look up the organizations to make sure that they're ethical. And
Yeah.
they are, but it always sparks such debate. Some people hate zoos. They think that zoos are unethical across the board. And that's not fair. That's really not fair because these animals, the ones that we saw at the fair, I know for a fact where they've come from. They wouldn't make it in the wild, so they'd be dead if it weren't for things like this.
Right.
Um, is it great to take them around and show them off? Well, animal ambassadors are extremely important to conservation of species, and if we didn't have zoos, we'd have a lot less animals on the planet. You that's not great, right? So,
Yeah.
anyway, I just kind of wanted to get on that soapbox for a second, and just make sure that whatever animal entertainment you're getting is ethical, and that can be hard to source. But it's not bad just because animals are performing. A lot of animals do enjoy, playing. It's play for them, and they like the enrichment of it. So I don't know. That's all I'm saying about it.
Sure. No argument here.
No argument. But like I said, I did have some high strangeness occur. We'll kind of get into that. So let me pull up my things here. I've had this thing happening. I'm pretty sure I talked about it here on the show. I'll talk about it again. Where I continue to receive notifications from TikTok that Tanya Derenberger is following me.
Right.
And so, um, I had gotten one on June 12th, and this has been, it's been going on for a couple of months now. It is odd. So I got one on June 12th, but then I also got one on Saturday, which was what, the 20th? So eight,
Mhm.
8 days apart. I've never had the notifications happen that close together. I guess I haven't really been timing them, but I have been screenshotting them, and can kind of go back and look. But that was pretty close together. That was odd to me. It's been odd anyway. So if anybody has any insight into this whatsoever, let me know. So what's happening is I, of course, made a TikTok account when TikTok first started becoming a thing and didn't enjoy it, deleted the app, no big deal. I get a new co-host, right? Tobias Whalen. We've kind of been talking about playing with the idea of utilizing TikTok
Right.
to, promote the show. So I re-download my TikTok and I'm kind of playing with it again. And now I'm getting notifications and people are following me. Now, people are probably getting notified that I'm on the platform now, right? So people that are on my contact list, people that are, friends with me on social media, whatever. But I continue to get the same notification over and over and over again, and it's always Tanya Derenberger and so many other people are following you. And I go and look, and it definitely is Tanya's account. She's dead. The account's not active, or at least doesn't appear to be active. There's nothing posted on it. It's not that she's following me again and again and again. She's already following me. So this isn't like it's unfollowing and refollowing. It isn't like it's a bot that's copied her information. It's the same account over and over again. It isn't somebody using her information to create an account to appear to be her, because that's what I thought it was at first. Here we go.
Right.
She's dead now. People are taking advantage of it. It's not that. I just continue to get, and I get other notifications. So it's not like when I get the follow notification, it's only her. I'll get a normal, regular notification. I have a new follower, and it is a new follower. It's fucking weird.
That does seem a little odd. So just so I have this straight, like it's the same account and it is her account,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep receiving notifications that it's following you, like
Yes.
this account is following you, um, during notifications of other activity, and it's always when you're being notified of something else.
What do you mean?
So like you'll get a notification saying like, "Hey, um, this person is following you now," which is legit because they really are, or you've got somebody liked this post or whatever, and then also Tanya Derenberger is following you now.
So it will be, they're not happening at the same exact time. I'm getting regular
Okay,
notifications as they're happening, and then I'm getting this notification randomly.
I see. Okay, so it's sometimes it'll be like the only notification.
Right.
Okay,
Because I don't
that's
really
weird.
use it. At all. Even though I should be learning how to use it for the sake of the show.
Yeah, me too.
But I don't. And so, every once in a while I'll get a new follower. Like I said, somebody will find out it's me on there and they'll follow me. It happens. And those come through just normally. This just happens it seems to be at complete random. The first time it happened, it was weird, but no big deal because it started happening after she had died.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure it happened originally back in the day, when she originally followed me, but it's happening now after she's died. And the first time I was just like, okay, maybe it's because I just downloaded the app, it's working out some glitches. It doesn't duplicate anybody else's profile like this. Like if it were literally anyone else, it wouldn't be as weird. I don't know. It wouldn't seem as weird, right? But the fact that it's Tanya Derenberger, who is dead, is
Right.
very odd to me. So I don't know what to make of it. I have no idea. I know that I have been trying to contact Injured Cold, as crazy as that sounds. Whatever, it is what it is. I know that I have had no success with that yet, but it's definitely in my mind. And I've kind of been talking about them more and more lately. Uh, and I know that when it comes to high strangeness, electrical interference of some sort is kind of par for the course. But is that tied to this? Is it something happening with TikTok? I'm just trying to rule out everything else before I jump the gun and go, oh, it's Indrid, or oh, it's the ghost of Tanya. Which
Sure.
is tough for me anyway to come to terms with because I don't believe ghosts are dead people. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. Twice, do you have any insights?
I mean, other than that, it's super fucking weird. Not really.
Am I crazy? Right? It's weird, right?
It does seem weird, especially if it's just that one person, like that one account doing it over and over and over again. Like that doesn't seem normal to me. Now, has a family member taken over that account? So do you know if it's being actively used by anybody?
I have considered that, but why would they? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
they're not posting any content. Why? I mean, it's so anybody can make their own TikTok account. I
Sure.
know that her family members, she's got children, is what it is. They were all estranged when she died. And when she died, she didn't have a phone at the time. Um, it just wasn't, something that she had access to, so she wouldn't have had it at that moment. Is it possible? I'm sure it's possible, but I have reason to believe that it's not, just because, like, they all live in different states. They don't even live in the same state as her.
Yeah. Okay.
So who knows? Who knows? It could be that. Maybe they're checking on it. I don't know. I've maybe I should just. Can I message it? I guess I probably can, right? Should I just
You sure
message
could.
the account and be like, "What the fuck, Indrid, my guy?"
I mean, you could.
Call his ass out, like, "Hey, are you trying to talk to me? Why didn't you just send me a message first instead of this?" I might try that next, and we'll see. I've been kind of just trying to see where it goes. I'm confident enough that this isn't going to stop anytime soon. But I've just been trying to kind of seek any type of patterns that I can find here. Is it certain days of the week, certain dates? Is it certain times? What does that look like? And with the screenshots, you can kind of do that, right? Because it'll tell me exactly the time of day that I took it. But yeah, I mean, as far as like activities, am I doing something specific? Is it only when I talk about Android? No, sometimes I'm doing absolutely nothing. And it happens, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes of it. But it's been weird. If anybody has any guesses, let me know. Everybody's like, people seem to think that what I'm saying is that somebody is creating accounts using a dead person's information. They're not. That's not what's happening. I wish it was that easy. It's not that.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see going forward. And then I had a weird incident occur also on Saturday, which was when the last notification that I got was I took a nap, and everybody knows how strongly I feel about ghosts. Like, it's kind of become a running joke at this point. Again, I don't think they're dead people. I haven't thought they're dead people for a very long time. But during my nap, I was visited by a dead friend. I mean, that's the easiest way I can put it. I was
See?
having a dream, and I was having like a birthday party, and people were like slowly showing up. Well, the one person that finally shows up is my friend Joe, who's been dead for a couple years now, and I knew he was dead. Like I knew he was dead. And I was like, "Well, you can't be here. You're not here anymore." He's like, "No, I'm here. It's okay. Like, I'm here for now." And it's okay. And he said it's gonna be okay. I don't know what he's talking about, but he said it's gonna be all right. And then we started just shooting the shit. It was very normal. We kind of talked
See,
about,
that's how ghosts visit people.
yeah.
Aren't you?
I'm upset about it.
You're like, fuck, I was so sure that I was right and I was so smug about it. And then this happened.
Right. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? And so I'm like in my dream, I'm crying, and I'm also crying in real life because I woke up crying.
I
So
get it. I've not to be flippant. I mean, I have been there
right.
and it is powerful.
It is. And so that's why it felt very significant. It didn't, I've had dreams that, people have dreams that are like that. They're intense. But this just felt very, very real. And so
Yep.
when I woke up, here's my logical side that's going to speak, okay, on this. As real as this felt, and I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. Now I got to change my fucking mind, right? Everybody's going to be like, see, told you about the ghost thing. God damn it. But, but when I woke up, there was a video playing on YouTube, and it was, they were talking about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is like something that was very special between me and my friend Joe. Something we laughed about a lot. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe that video was playing and that it triggered my brain to think about Joe, and that's why he showed up in the dream. Or maybe not, and fucking ghosts are dead people and I'm wrong. Whatever. It's whatever.
I'm going with that one.
Makes me mad, damn it. So I learned a lot about myself this weekend. I learned that I'm afraid of hot air balloons and their largeness, and I learned that ghosts might be dead people. So
Might be. That's very progressive of you. I mean, honestly, like, I think ghosts might be dead people is as far as we should take it anyway. Like, that's the limit of our knowledge. So,
yeah. And Saturday was a busy day. So
that sounds like you got a lot done.
I have another one that happened on Saturday.
Oh, good.
So later that evening, I was partaking in some adult activities. Okay. I was watching porn. That's what I was doing. I was watching porn.
Okay.
And some suggested videos came up. Okay. And it was jarring because the thumbnail of it is this guy with a huge dick. Okay. Like a massive dick.
Okay.
And I don't mean like 10 inches. I mean like fucking it extends up to the guy's fucking head and face type of huge, like unrealistically massive.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, I gotta check that out. Curiosity killed the cat on that one. But the reason why it's significant, and if people remember, if you've been a listener of the show for a very long time, okay, the very first interview we ever did on this show was the guy who contacted me via Facebook, and he said that he he said that he had the largest penis in the world. Okay. This is the story. Longtime listeners know it. He had the largest penis in the world. And the reason why he did is because he is he's an alien hybrid. He's made up of 5 different species of alien. And he has this giant penis as kind of like a walking billboard. So that people know that like there's something strange about him. And it's really hard to hide this giant penis. And so, Tobias, are you familiar with this story?
I mean, kind of. I have issues with some of that narrative, but anyway.
I have issues with a lot of it, but
right.
we had kind of like tracked this for a minute. Like, me and Pato kind of just went through and, I'd kind of give updates because we would talk about it. So he approaches me because he finds out that I make movies and he's interested in getting away from what he's doing now, which is like live shows in front of people, and is interested in making some type of content online, but it couldn't be sexual content because he can't have sex with anybody because his penis is so big.
Too big for sex. That's a real monkey paw situation there.
Too big for sex. So I'm like, okay, interesting. But he's not being necessarily overtly sexual. He's just being factual. Like, he's just like, these are the facts. This is what it is. This is what I'm looking to do.
Did you see
I just
his
need
dick?
someone to help me. Yeah, right. So eventually I do see his dick. He sends it to me because I'm like, well, how big is this thing? After like 2 weeks of talking to him. But I'm not there yet. I'm like, look, guy, if I'm like, this is just a ploy for some dude to send me dick pictures, right? It's just going to be a normal fucking penis. It's not going to be anything extravagant. And so, I'm like, well, if it's the biggest dick in the world, why aren't you in like the Guinness Book of World Records? Like, why is this not documented anywhere? That's when the alien shit came out. He said, because Guinness did come out and measure his dick. He had given me the measurements at one point, and I don't remember what they were, and said that after that, the government has been after him ever since
Oh yeah.
because he's an alien hybrid, and that's when that came out. And
Yeah.
claims he had no idea who I was. He had no idea what I did. He just added me on Facebook, saw that I had filmmaker on my fucking thing, and thought that I could help him. And he's also from Ohio. He was like, he lived like, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes away. So of course I start telling Pat like this whole tale, and then we started kind of riffing on it, talking about it on the show in the beginning because we just thought this guy's a pervert. Well,
Yeah.
of course, then I'm like, okay, let me see it. I got to see this thing, right? The fucking government's chasing after you. Get a big alien dick. What's it look like? Well, he sends me pictures. Sure enough, this is the largest penis I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay.
And I'm blown away. I did not expect that. I expected this to not be a thing. So back to Saturday.
And you're sure it was his? Like he didn't just find some pictures on the
Yes.
internet and send you?
Because he had pictures of full body pictures of him standing up holding this thing.
Okay.
Like holding it up, pictures of him laying down, and he's got it laying across his body, and it went all the way up to like the bridge of his nose.
I don't think that's okay.
And it's about
Fair enough.
half as wide of as his face. Okay. So I'm like, well, fuck, man, this is real. So we interview him for the show. He did not want to talk about his dick at all. Did not want to talk about it at all. And I'm like, well, dude, you kind of have to. Like,
Well, yeah.
So we interview him for the show, like 5 days into the show being out. It's a weekly show. He messages me and Pat. He goes off. He's like threatening our lives, threatening our families, because he did not want his family to know about his giant dick. I mean, they already know because it's visible, and they're like ashamed to like talk about it. And he didn't want his family to know anything. He claims he didn't know he was being recorded, that he was going on a podcast, which is impossible.
Right.
But that's what he says. And so Pat made me take the show down because he was afraid of this person on the internet. And I did. And that is the only show we have ever removed from the podcast. It is over the Patreon. I've told people all the time, if you just want to go subscribe to the Patreon and listen to that show, you can. And then leave. I totally get it. But that whole interview is over there. I'm not here to sell you guys on that. Just this is what happened. And so what does this have to do with Saturday? So Saturday, I see this video of a guy with a giant penis. He's wearing like a ski mask type thing. And I'm like watching it. And as I'm like continuing to watch these videos, I'm like, I think this is the fucking guy. Because at first I'm like amazed. I'm like, what is happening here? And there's like comments. And in the comments section, people are like, only in Ohio. Like they're kind of making this joke over and over again. I don't know why they think he's from Ohio. But I think it's the same fucking guy. And I'm like watching these videos, and sure enough, it's huge. But while I'm watching it, some things that I took note of is that like every time when he's holding the penis, so he'll like hold the base of his giant penis, and then he'll like suck it himself, and then this is a very graphic episode. This is like extra graphic.
Whatever. It's now you have to finish, so like just we'll get through it.
Oh, he finished all right a couple times. So
gross.
So he's like, he's like sucking his own penis, and then he's like jerking off the end of it with his other hand. Well, he's always holding on to the base. So like
Prosthetic.
clearly, right. This is some type of contraption, and I may have been duped because when I think back to those pictures, like I said, there's a full body shot of him standing and he's holding it by the base. Well, that it makes sense to me at the time, right? That was probably not really his penis. I think it was this fucking guy.
He has a giant prosthetic penis that he tries to make people believe is his.
Right. That is his kink. Like that's his fetish. And I don't know. It never really occurred to me because I've never really came across something like this before. And I still haven't. I've tried to like look it up. Like, where can you buy one of these? Like, because it comes and stuff. Like, there's stuff that comes out of it, but it's like clearly not. It's like clearly not, sperm. Like, I don't know what it is, but
well, those totally exist. Like fake dicks that can like ejaculate and everything.
Yeah.
100%. That shit
those.
is that exists. That's all over the place now. You see those everywhere.
So this has got to like go over his penis already, over top of his penis, and then.
I wonder if he has a micro penis.
I'm very curious now. He already, that's the kicker of it. Like he already has a big penis anyway. He just wants to be bigger. That's
right. I don't know. Because as soon as you said how big it was, I was like, there's no way it's that big. It's just biologically, there's no fucking way.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. It
yeah.
doesn't, because he would like describe, like I said, he was very factual. He would describe like how wintertime was his favorite season because he could like rig it up and kind of tie it up and hide it in his coat, as opposed to like the warmer months he can't wear shorts, obviously, but then if he wears pants and just puts it in his pants, you can still see it, and there was no real way to like hide it. He's been arrested multiple times for, just because his penis is big and he can't do anything with it. um
That all sounds
so
like bullshit.
it was so the story I've always told, because of course people will be like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever come across? Well, it's that, that's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever, that this is all because he's a fucking alien hybrid and that's why it's so big.
Right.
um Nothing beats that story, and at the end of it, usually like my punchline is, I can't tell you if this guy's an alien hybrid, but what I can tell you for certain is that he has the biggest penis I've ever seen in my entire life. And now I can't even tell it like that anymore, because like it's clearly some type of prosthetic. I'm kind of disappointed.
You got duped by a fake dick. It's a tale as old as time.
Oh yeah, Tobias is like, yep, been there.
Right. It's like a rite of passage.
I remember what happened to me. Yeah, so it's been a difficult weekend. Not a bad one, but it's just there's been a lot of growth. So
I see what you did there.
that was it. That was my weekend. I had a lot to tell.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's going to take a while for me to digest all that.
Jeez.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, that's what the guy on the video said too. Anyway.
It's that's just
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
So, you want some news? You want to talk about some news?
Yeah, I think we have to. Let's get a palate cleanser here.
Oh man, I don't know if this is it, but here we go.
All right.
I have one news,
Okay.
and it is not necessarily in regards to high strangeness, and that's okay. So this is about McCamey Manor. Have you ever heard of McCamey Manor?
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. Okay. So McCamey Manor is dubbed the most extreme haunted house in the entire world. So this guy, basically you have to sign up to get tortured.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Right. In this guy's backyard fucking haunted house thing. He's supposedly, shaves your hair off and pulls your teeth out and whatever, tortures you. And if you make it through the entire thing, there's a cash prize of $20,000. Well, I've been kind of in this rabbit hole for a couple of years now. And I know a couple people have been. It turns out it's all bullshit, right? What I mean by that is that there did used to be a manor. They did used to torture people. Not necessarily in the way people think, but they would push the limits. They did have a safe word. They wouldn't respect the safe word. They would genuinely hurt people. They fucking dragged some guy with a truck one time, and he had to go to the hospital and get treated for the fucking rug burn all over his body, basically.
Right.
It's not been great. Well, he did lose the house that he was having the manor at. He had to move states. And it wasn't because he got chased out of that town. It's just because he broke up with his girlfriend and it was all hers, really. So he moved states. He sets up a new manor, and all it ended up being, he would lie to people and say that it had all these things. Like there's a room, like a maze, like an underwater maze on top of that, filled with rats that you would have to make it through. And there was a fucking 2-mile long zip line, and there's no such thing on the entire planet. And,
Right.
he would make up all this bullshit when really all it was is you would come to the guy's backyard and do boot camp exercises until you were too exhausted to continue. And then he would say that you failed and wouldn't give you the $20,000. Well, all that drama has been happening for a couple years. Things took a turn for the worse for him, but the better for everybody else. Russ McCamey, the owner of McCamey Manor, has been arrested and is being charged with 2 degrees of attempted second-degree murder and rape.
Okay, well, fuck that guy.
Yeah, no, he's a terrible person. It's nice because he has victimized a lot of people over the years, and if you guys want to get into the rabbit hole, it's there. Have fun. But it is so fucking validating for all of the people that he has victimized over the years, because they've never been able to really prove all the terrible shit that he's done.
Yeah.
Even though he records all of his haunts, he has them, right? So he's not gonna give you your
Right.
tour. But he has now actually finally been convicted of something, or not convicted, I'm sorry, charged with some very serious crimes due to a domestic dispute between him and his well, now ex-girlfriend. And he could potentially see life in prison. So, I don't know. Like I said, I know a lot of people have followed this story for a long time. I know I have. More of a personal thing for me. I'm happy that people are finally able to get the validation they deserve. But it sucks that it had to happen this way. So
Yeah, you never want to see a scumbag get in trouble like that for something new,
right,
after they've done all that shit. And
yeah,
I don't think people understand there are certain rights that you can't, like legally, you cannot sign away, like ever. So
exactly.
it doesn't matter if you sign a contract, people still can't legally fucking physically harm you.
They can't.
Like that's
No.
never okay, ever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you say. You can give them permission, it's still illegal, and they'll still get in trouble for it.
And I think he kind of preys off of, I'm not going to say the stupidity, the ignorance around the fact that people going into this don't understand that they're not actually signing a legally binding contract. And so
Right.
I think that they've struggled to find legal justice because they don't understand that they can go for it. Because they signed up for it, right? And that's, he's the one that tells them you don't want to do this. That's like his catchphrase. So if they signed up for it, it's their fault. It's fucking victim blaming at extreme levels.
Yeah.
And then other people on the internet will say that, well, they asked for it, so we don't feel bad for them. And at the same time, it's like, but you can't though. Like legally, you cannot torture somebody. You can't. It's not possible. So I'm hoping that these people will probably speak out, and they probably will. This is all very, very brand new. He was just arrested on the 19th, so
Okay.
this is all fresh news. But hopefully, they'll all kind of be able to band together and fucking get charges on this guy to stick. Because again, people have been trying to do it for years and haven't been able to. And I'm sure they're more than happy to help out the victim in their testimonies or any way that they can in order to get this guy behind bars. So this is it's a big celebration. Again, as much as it sucks that he did something new and got to get his hands on somebody else, it's still a good thing in the long run. And I'm happy for the other people that finally gets that justice. So that was my news.
Yeah. Okay. So fuck that guy is what we landed on
Yeah,
there,
fuck
I
that
think.
guy. Yeah.
All right. So I also have a news. It's not about a reprehensible piece of shit though. It is more orbs. I hope you guys like orbs because I
Yay.
got them. Yes. So this is a report from the void. So from that column that I will occasionally publish on the old Singular Fortean Society. This one is entitled I Saw an Orb Over Lake Huron. So, before we get started, just a quick note for everybody who doesn't know about Reports from the Void. It is essentially a repository to share those stories for which I do not have enough information to publish a complete report. So, like, normally it entails getting a one-off email. I try to get a hold of a witness. I either can't, or we exchange a couple emails and they like ghost before I can set up an actual interview or something. So this is one of those. So this comes from an email that we received on February 3rd, 2024. And I'll just go ahead and read the email because it's not that long. I saw an orb over Lake Huron in February 2023, a day or two before the shootdown occurred over the lake. It was at my family cottage near the southern tip of the lake, which is about 100 miles south of the shootdown. I watched it move randomly around the skyline for about 45 minutes. It was below freezing with 30 mile per hour wind gusts. That afternoon beforehand, I did attempt a CE5 encounter. It was my first attempt at such contact, and I have tried a few times since without success. My family lost possession of the cottage at the end of 2023. It's quite a long story and unrelated. I was on Kettle Point, I believe, and the object was around Lexington, Michigan. At one point, it flew towards Port Huron, much higher and faster than the helicopters fly along the coast. So again, I tried to reach out to this person and get more information, but I didn't receive any response. There's a lot to unpack here, though. So first of all, that shoot down that they are talking about, That refers to one of several mysterious objects brought down by fighter jets over North America in February of 2023. I'm sure everybody
Yes, the weather
remembers that.
balloons.
Yeah, right. So the origin and nature of those unidentified flying objects remains unknown, although a few details did emerge, right? So this is from basically what little information government sources fed the media about these. So one of the objects over Alaska was reportedly the size of a small car and cylindrical and silverish gray, while another one taken down over Canada was described as a small metallic balloon with a tethered payload below it. So that's more of your sort of weather balloon, right? And the aforementioned object over Lake Huron was said to be octagonal with strings hanging off the side and no discernible payload. So none of those objects reportedly showed any signs of propulsion or maneuverability. And of course, both the US and Canadian governments have claimed not to have recovered any wreckage from the downed objects. So hard to say what the hell is going on here. Oh, I do want to point out one weird synchronicity about this. So they see an orb over Lake Huron and they're on Kettle Point. Well, Kettle Point, interestingly enough, is actually known for its spherical rock formations. It's one of the few places in the world that has these, but these like perfectly spherical boulders form there. So there you go.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we got to do one of these orange orbs episode. I guess that's my fault we haven't, but
Right. Well, you do the scheduling, so
right. I don't know who I'm blaming. Myself, I suppose. Um, Very interesting. Do you think that there's any correlation to the mysterious objects in the sky?
oh boy. Well, there's definitely a correlation in that it happened around the same time in
Proximity,
the
yeah.
same area. But I mean, is there any sort of causal relationship? Impossible to say. I would assume not, but
Mhm.
we don't know. And the fact is, this report leaves out some details that I would really like to know about this. Right. So they talk about seeing this orb, but they don't mention it glowing or any particular color. They don't mention like the time of day this was. Was it a daytime sighting? Was it a nighttime sighting?
Yeah.
If it was a daytime sighting, was it like spherical and metallic? Did it resemble any of these other objects that were shot down around that time? I have a lot of questions, and unfortunately, we don't have answers. So I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows seems to be the answer for a lot of this stuff in this field.
It is.
But no, understandable.
Yeah. I mean, it's often the only honest answer that we have.
I agree. Well, I know the answer. It was swamp gas or whatever.
Right. Well, it
That's
was probably swamp gas.
a
Making out
raccoon.
with a weather balloon
Yeah.
in a temperature inversion.
It was a bear.
Could have been a bear standing up. They didn't even think of that, idiots.
Right. It always is a bear standing up in the sky
On a weather
Totally
balloon.
normal. On a weather balloon. Yep. Riding into some swamp gas.
Right.
Um,
Using swamp gas to light a cigarette.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I do love the orange orbs. I want to admittedly read more about them. I feel like it's always something I come across, but it's not anything I've ever experienced. And when you go into one of these investigations in general, you try to kind of conduct your own experiments. Whether they're worth a damn, it's hard to tell right now. But I would be curious to kind of sort of measure. I've heard that these orbs can often have um, like certain levels of radiation associated with them, and again, admittedly, I haven't really deep dived into that. So I would be curious to do so, and see if there's anything to that. If that comes from any credible source, or is that just something we're assuming because it's anomalous? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's something that doesn't get a lot of individual attention. Like there are people who investigate UFOs, there are people who investigate ghosts, and there are very few people who are specifically interested in orbs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right. I would like to meet an orb expert. If that's your thing, hit us
that's
up.
me. I'm an orb expert now.
Oh, you are? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got a bunch of these, and
You do.
I have
Yeah.
been looking into them and writing about them for a while. But yeah, maybe I'll do an orb book. Who knows?
The Book of Orbs. Please do.
Yes, well, I'll call it that too. The Big Book of Orbs.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think nobody else has, as far as I know. I've not come across one. Fuck, someone's got to
Right.
do it. Because yeah, they're truly difficult to investigate. I mean, really, really difficult to try to investigate these things. So I don't know, but I'm fascinated by them. So
Yeah, me
yeah.
too, because they cross uh, basically every imaginary line that we draw in this field. Like they're associated with ufology, yet people report them all the time in areas known for cryptid activity. They're associated with ghosts and hauntings. They are this ubiquitous presence across every area of
Mhm.
the fucking Fortean,
Yeah.
and I just people aren't paying enough attention to that. Like it's
Yeah.
weird. Why orbs? Why are orbs? Why always orbs? Orbs are just everywhere.
Always
Why
orbs.
always orbs? That's the name of the book. Why always orbs?
Why always orbs? No, I agree. They definitely scratch the itch for all the strangeness, so
Right.
they're fascinating. We'll see. Well, I'm sure you'll get more of them or you'll pull more, as time goes on and we'll hear more
Right.
about them. And then, of course,
Sure.
if you have an orb sighting that you would like to report, you can either report it to myself, you can report it to Tobias. There's a million and one different ways that you can get that story out to us via email, social media, websites. You name it. You can still call the phone number 773-59-WEIRD and report it there and we'll play it on the show. Just saying, that's an option. So, anyway,
Sure.
Tobias, what is your history with Bigfoot?
Oh boy, I don't think I've ever heard of that. You said Bigfoot?
Yeah,
Oof.
big hairy. Maybe it's an ape, maybe it's a humanoid, maybe it's a ghost.
Sure. What is my history with fucking Bigfoot? Well, we used to date back in the 90s,
I heard
and
that.
no. Oh boy, yeah, I have. I've definitely written about some Bigfoot sightings, quite a few at this point. I have done some investigating in areas that are known for Bigfoot and Dogman activity, and also orbs.
And also orbs.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I've seen some stuff in the woods that may or may not have been a Bigfoot. So who knows?
Yeah, Bigfoot it's probably next to just general hauntings and ghosts, it's probably one of the easiest to investigate, you
Yeah,
know.
just go outside.
Go outside, right? You're right. Oh, you got a patch of woods over there? Go over there. There's Bigfoot over there. You know?
Right.
Probably. I don't care if it's the genuine Blair Witch Woods between the two major streets, right? And it's like, I don't know, 10 foot of woods. There's Bigfoot there. Um, it's definitely the like if you think of cryptid, right? Think of the name cryptid. Bigfoot is by far the most popular out there. I mean, it is the most well known. People that aren't into cryptids are into Bigfoot. Um, it's fucking Bigfoot. And I think Bigfoot enters our culture in a way that like we don't even really recognize it, right? My origin story into all of this starts with Bigfoot, the Patterson Gimlin film. And I think a lot of people do. I'm not original by any means. A lot of us get
Right.
into it because of that. But I know for a fact that Bigfoot had to have entered my life before that point. Just that it wasn't too much of an interest and not so much of the way of like I believed or didn't believe. It just didn't matter because it was so common knowledge. And I know that because when it came out, I watched a Goofy movie and there's Bigfoot in it, right? I watched Harry and the Hendersons, right? I mean, that's all about Bigfoot. Um,
I fucking love that movie. I watched the movie all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a part. It's just a basic part of our pop culture these days. So I mean, but I know that you're not really. You're less of a cryptid guy. Not that you're not into them at all, but you're less of a cryptid guy. So I know that it's not your preferred preferred method of investigating is cryptids.
I don't really
Um,
have a preferred method, I guess, on that topic. I started with UFOs, but most people know me for Mothman now.
right,
Um, but I've always been interested in all of it, and at this point, because of all of the overlap, like
right.
I've never said no to a Bigfoot hunt or something. I don't Bigfoot
Sure.
hunt. That doesn't sound like the right term. Like a Bigfoot investigate. I'm not like loading up a 30-06 and going to fucking hunt Bigfoot.
Maybe someone
Um,
should.
maybe someone should. Maybe it's about time, America. Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But
it's
you're not a Bigfoot bro, and you know what I mean when I say
I'm not,
that.
because that's fucking stupid, and nobody should be.
Nobody
You
should be a
know,
bro first and
just any
foremost.
kind of bro. Yeah,
Any bro.
probably not.
They're
So, but
all
yeah,
fair.
no, I feel like everybody thinks that whatever topic they're talking about is not my preferred area, just because I kind of like everything equally and do everything equally.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, which is um kind of the whole point of being a Fordian investigator.
Right.
But since fucking people that even are in this field don't know what that means,
Right. That's
it's difficult.
I give for
Um,
it a whole chapter in the book that Richard and I are working on, because
oh
I
god.
firmly believe, one, more people need to know who the fuck that is, and two, you cannot, and I'm sorry if this hurts people's feelings, you cannot understand John Keel without first understanding Charles Fort.
It's true.
You cannot do it.
It's a good point. It's not only a good point, it's the only right answer.
Right.
There's not a lot of right answers in this community, but that is. That's a fact. Um, yeah, with Bigfoot, you're not a Bigfoot bro. I'm not a Bigfoot bro either, even though again I started in Bigfoot. Truth be told, people are they're gonna clutch their pearls at this one. I'm a little bored of Bigfoot. Oh, I know, I know, I know.
It is pretty boring, honestly. I'm not going to defend it. I
Damn
mean,
it! One of us is supposed to be likable here.
right. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, even if it is, okay, if Bigfoot is some undiscovered animal species, like, hey, that's super cool. And, I love that for us. I love that for nature. But I don't give a fuck about that, man. I want Flatwoods Monster. I want, if I got Bigfoot, it better be Bigfoot coming out of a fucking portal or crashing into my house in a flying saucer or some shit, right? Like, it can't just be some animal, because that's just not anything that I'm all that interested in. I'm just not.
Well, it's just, much like a lot of this stuff, I'm standing too close to it anymore, right? So you just kind of get burnt out on certain topics. And, Bigfoot was a big deal for me as a young person who was interested in this stuff. And I say that because I got into this, when I wanted to be a cryptozoologist. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to discover Bigfoot, god damn it.
Mm.
And I probably was a Bigfoot bro back in the day. But that was my dream as a kid. And I had my feelings hurt because mostly it was the Georgia Bigfoot hoax, which we'll kind of, we'll
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about a little bit further down when we talk about hoaxes. But I watched that, and with bated breath, I saw the pictures. Holy shit, it's Bigfoot. We know now it's real, and then it wasn't. And I was I was a teenager at the time that this happened, so I was very emotional to begin with, and I cried for 10 weeks straight. I didn't really, but I could have. I was so angsty. I was hurt. I was bitter because this was something that I genuinely believed in, and I thought that we were finally getting somewhere, and we didn't, and we still haven't, and it's 2024. And so it's not necessarily that it's boring. It's just that there's nothing new here. You know, um, there just isn't. We need to do something differently to continue the research a little bit better because I will say right at the top here of the episode that I do believe in Bigfoot. I do. And we'll kind of course, also get into that a little bit more. But anyway, so it's something that I'll kind of put down a lot, especially lately. And I don't mean put down as an insult, just put down as in research, because it is monotonous and boring and just it's the same thing. But the subject itself, the topic itself, the actual creature itself is not boring at any means. I'm just, get tired of talking about it. So we're going to talk about it this whole episode.
That we are.
Because I haven't in a while, right? I haven't explained my feelings about Bigfoot or presented any evidence or just kind of talked about it. So maybe you're new here. Maybe you just started listening when Tobias came on. Maybe it's. I mean, I know it's been 4 years since the first Bigfoot episode came out. So let's refresh it again, shall we? Bigfoot. So Bigfoot, Sasquatch, wild man, hairy man. It's got 1,001 names. I'm not going to go through all of them. That would be the whole episode.
What ape? That's my favorite one.
Oh, what ape? Ohio here, it's the grass man. Do you guys have a special Bigfoot name over there in Wisconsin?
No.
What?
Wish. Fucking, we don't have anything good here.
I mean, Wisconsin wild man. Like, that would be so easy.
That would be awesome. No,
Okay.
we got regular old Bigfoot. Just fucking
Bigfoot.
dollar store Bigfoot for us.
Wish
Fucking
that
Walmart
Bigfoot.
brand Bigfoot in Wisconsin.
Bigfoot at
Sam's
home.
Club Bigfoot.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry about that. That's really embarrassing for you. But
I know, right?
I don't like grass man so much either. It sounds like the drug dealer that I used to buy weed from in high school, my grass man.
It does a little bit. I don't even smoke weed, but I'd buy it from Bigfoot.
Hell yeah, who wouldn't? Bigfoot's probably got the best weed. Let's be honest. There's that whole show about the guys that grow the weed and something about Bigfoot in it. I don't know. I never watched it. But anyway, as I was saying, Bigfoot's known by many names across not just the country but the entire world. What we're mostly going to focus on this episode is about the North American Bigfoot, right? And we'll kind of maybe talk about others in the future when we talk about, because we've done specific cases, right? We did the Big Muddy Monster. That was Bigfoot, right? Sweet name also. Anyway, what is it? Well, that's a really good question. By description, it is some type of large, maybe primate, hairy hominid for sure, right? I can't say anything for sure, but that's kind of what we envision. A big monkey, right? That's what it is. It's big monkey, standing anywhere from 6 feet tall all the way up to 15 feet tall, allegedly. Allegedly.
Right. People just
walking-
don't fucking understand how big 15 feet is.
They don't. They really don't.
It's
Listen,
like taller than your house.
go stand next to a fucking hot air balloon. Promise. That's that's probably
Right.
15 feet.
Wait,
at least.
that's why you were scared. One of them was really
Yes.
Bigfoot. And they
Yes.
used their infrasound powers on you and you got scared. It's not your
That's-
fault.
They were cloaking. Oh my gosh, you're right.
It's not your fault.
That makes sense now. Next year I won't be so scared.
Right.
But that's what people say. People see it hunting, people see it walking in the woods, some people see it right outside their home. People have seen it since we've had written record in all of our history here in various degrees. People tell stories about the Native Americans and how different tribes may have a different attribution to Bigfoot. Some of them, they're very friendly. Some of them, they're very intimidating. It just depends on who you ask, it sounds like. And, same thing here too. I don't think that Bigfoot attacks or aggressive Bigfoot tends to be the norm. The norm just seems to be, I was out in the woods one day and this big hunkin' thing walked in front of me, or I was driving one day and this big hunkin' thing walked in front of me. It seems to do a lot of walking. Bigfoot is a cardio expert. So,
Just real slow cardio, though.
Well, you don't have to go fast.
You don't have to. There's a lot of health benefits to walking. Bigfoot is clearly in good shape.
Clearly. So, let's kind of talk about, I guess, where Bigfoot became popular, I suppose, is the way to put it. And I think that I think, Tobias, you would agree with me
Mhm.
that Bigfoot sprang into popularity due to the 1967 Patterson Gimlin film.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I would agree with that because if you just look at, because that came at the end of the 60s, and
yeah,
then just look at the entire decade after that in the 70s, and that's when you get the Bigfoot explosion in pop culture. That's where you get like the Legend of Boggy Creek and all that shit.
yeah,
And because Bigfoot was huge for the next 10, 15 years.
yeah. It definitely like brought Bigfoot into a different light. Again, culturally for something that's been around for so long. Damn, it really took a long time for it to pick up steam.
Yeah,
You
right.
know? Which is very interesting, to say the least. However, let's talk about it. This is probably the most debated film of all time, besides maybe the moon landing.
Yeah, or like the JFK assassination.
Right? It's up there.
It is. Yeah, it's like top three.
So it's definitely up there. So what happened on that day? So a gentleman by the name of Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin were out and about shooting some footage because Roger Patterson was working on a Bigfoot, kind of like a mockumentary in a way. It was like a
Mhm.
documentary, but with like reenactments, which we'll get into here in a bit. Anyway, he was out there filming for his Bigfoot movie. But Roger Patterson was a Bigfoot researcher up until this point and had kind of gotten the idea to make a Bigfoot movie because that's what he was into. He would go around and take local reports of these creature sightings in that California area, trying to come up with evidence. He had written a book prior to this that featured different drawings of Bigfoot and different accounts of Bigfoot in the region. So they're out and about, and they get their fucking money shot. Yeah. Bringing it back full
True.
circle here. No, they, they get their money shot. They get that famous footage of the creature, at Bluff Creek. It's across the creek. They're on the other side of it, and it's walking. It does its cute little turn back, and then just keeps going forward. And fucking history was made. Um, let's talk about the Patterson Gimlin film a little bit. Tobias, do you have an opinion on this footage?
I love Patty. I love the Patterson Gimlin footage and the big old boobied Bigfoot seen walking around. What's not to like?
True. Boobs, Bigfoot, hell yeah.
Right? I don't think anybody has ever in the history of mankind uttered the phrase big old boobied Bigfoot before. So, just for that, we should love it. But no, I mean, it's compelling footage, and you're right about it being one of the most debated pieces of footage ever filmed. But that just goes to show how compelling it really is. The fact
Hmm.
that here we are, almost what? Oh boy, what? Now I got to do math real quick. Almost 60 years later,
Yep.
and we still don't have a definitive answer to this footage.
Yeah.
It still has not been properly debunked by anybody, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but there's no shortage of people who have claimed to have debunked it or even said that they were involved, but none of them, not one of them, has been able to actually demonstrate how it was done or prove their own involvement.
Yeah.
None of them.
Yeah.
So in looking at it, it passes the eyeball test for me. You can see the musculature of this creature, whatever it is. You can see real detail. Again, like I made the joke, but it does have breasts, which is
Yeah.
interesting because you don't get a lot of reports of female Bigfoot, right? Like
Hmm.
that's just generally not something you hear a lot about. And so, maybe people have tried to say that Roger Patterson was, into female Bigfoot, and he had made some drawings of one, prior to this, and yeah, I guess maybe, I don't know. So if he was going to fake it, maybe he would have a female Bigfoot because that's what he liked. But I don't know. I don't know that that's true, and frankly, neither does anybody else. Nobody can really do anything other than guess or speculate at any motivation. But what we do know is that according to the technology of the time, it very much should not have been possible to hoax this footage.
Yeah.
Nobody has been able to recreate it using just 1960s special effects technology. Nobody has even come close.
Yeah.
So just because of that, it's compelling. But then you see the footage itself, and it looks like a real animal. It looks like it's physically what it claims to be, or what they claim to have seen. So it's great. Everybody should be interested in it.
It looks strange, I'll say that much, but it's going to. It's I've never seen a Bigfoot, so I don't know if it looks, of course people have said that they have seen Bigfoot, and they claim that yes, it is exactly that creature in the Patterson-Gimlin film. Like, that is what they look like. And then there's people that have descriptions that are so vastly different from what we see in the Patterson. But then again, that's anecdotal evidence compared to some potentially physical evidence. People complain, why are there no clear pictures of Bigfoot? Why are there no clear images? I mean, this is as clear as we got. It's pretty damn clear. People have cleared it up even further,
Right.
and people are still unhappy with it. There is, let me start with this. There is absolutely no piece of video or photographic evidence that will prove the existence of any cryptid. It will not happen that way. It's not, that's science doesn't go, okay, this video of it's real. In my opinion, if that were the case, then Bigfoot would have already been proven with the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Right.
And we are now so far out in the future with this piece of footage that the fact that it has not been debunked by now, nobody has been able to recreate it. Nobody ever will. To me, my opinion is that it's fucking Bigfoot. I don't know, I don't know. And, I've done all the things that people have done. I've analyzed it. Like I said, this was my thing. I was a Bigfoot bro for a long time. And yes, of course, I started with a bias because I wanted to believe that it was real. But you guys, the reason why I got into this to begin with is because I was a fucking middle schooler that read an article about Ray Wallace and how Ray Wallace had confessed to faking Bigfoot footprints. And the Patterson-Gimlin film had to have been fake because the reason why they were in that area to begin with was because Ray Wallace had found prints at Bluff Creek. And so I went into this already kind of skeptical to begin with, but was fascinated by the footage itself. But hey, the guy that faked the prints, he made fake ones over in that area. Is it possible Ray Wallace hoaxed those prints, and then Patterson just ended up being in the right place at the right time? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? It happens. Bluff Creek, nowadays it's off the rail. We know exactly where this was filmed. down to a T. You can put it into
Right.
your Google Maps and go find it, the exact coordinates. But let me tell you, it's not easy to get to. Like, this is not on the side of the road somewhere. Like, this is fucking deep in the woods, way deep out there. It's not entirely impossible to get to, but there's a reason why they were riding horses up in that area. Because it is far, it is deep, and it is a difficult terrain. So again, this isn't like they pulled up on the side of some trees and some foliage and just had a guy don a suit and did it. This would have had to have been very, very calculated, on top of being a groundbreaking suit for the time, on top of all these other factors that would have had to have happened for them to hoax it. I'm not going to so much get into the deep dive of it. You guys can do that. Read the Mullins report, or I'm sorry, that's his name, right? Bill Mullins was the, oh geez, I should be prepared for this. I think of the wrong person. He was a special effects artist that kind of picked this apart and had set out to prove that this was just a suit, but had changed his mind during the um, investigation. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
What's his fucking name? It doesn't matter. I think it's Bill Mullins. Hold on.
You can do it. I
I'm
believe
doing it.
in you.
I'm doing it. If I could spell right, he's
Is
got a
it
book. He wrote a book.
William Munns?
It is Munns, not Mullins. So, yeah, Bill Munns, the Munns reports, which was done in tandem with Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, which is a key player in Bigfoot lore, where they kind of really picked apart the Patterson footage. But Munns himself, like I said, he was kind of set out to prove that it was fake. With his special effects background, and couldn't do that. So he wrote a book. It's called When Roger Met Patty. Definitely check that out. It's very interesting stuff. We have some of the greatest special effects artists of all time have said that they could not recreate this footage. Nobody's been able to do it. Nobody.
Yeah, plenty of people have claimed, like fucking Philip Morris
Philip
came
Morris, yeah.
forward in 2002 and was like, oh, I sold Roger Patterson the suit. And when asked to prove it, made a new suit that looked nothing fucking like it.
Nothing like it.
So,
So embarrassing
okay.
for that guy.
Yeah, that was a bust. Well, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
You can't just, it's so obvious when somebody's just trying to get attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, the jig is up, dude. I hope you enjoyed your 15 minutes. Like Bob Hieronymus, same fucking deal. Like nothing to back up his claims.
But Tobias, Bob Hieronymus passed a polygraph test.
What? That doesn't fucking mean anything. Who cares?
Doesn't
There's a
mean
reason
anything.
they're not legally admissible.
Right. Exactly. It doesn't mean anything. Good for him. It just means he's really good at staying calm. That's it.
Yeah. Congrats. You're an excellent liar.
Yeah. Good for you. I mean, anybody, I can be like, I was Bigfoot, right? I was the one in the suit. I mean, I guess I wasn't alive then, but you guys don't know that. I've never showed anybody my birth certificate, so who would know?
True.
It's just, it's one of those things. Everybody wants to be a part of it. Bob Hieronymus did kind of have a part, as in they knew each other. Him and Patterson did know each other, but that was really it. Patterson did not have the type of money that people that you would have had to have made the suit.
Right.
He was actually very much going broke. He was trying to get people to invest in his film. I mean, he didn't have the money to even make this documentary. And so, when people say stuff like, oh, yeah, so let's go back to it. Oh, well, he was drawing, these Bigfoot with titties, right? He drew them. He did. That's absolutely correct. He did draw Bigfoot with titties. You know why he drew Bigfoot with titties?
That's what he's into.
Well, he probably is. I think we're all into Bigfoot with titties.
I mean,
Can't blame the guy.
Sure.
But the reason why was because he was drawing eyewitness reports from the area.
Well, that'll do it, won't it?
I mean, if they're seeing Bigfoot with titties, and he sees Bigfoot with titties, it's not a far jump to think that, maybe people actually were seeing this thing in the area. Right. Fuck. Let's talk about the titties. Why would you put titties on a suit?
That's what I'm saying.
Who thinks of that?
Right. Well, it would just be so much extra work, and for what? And it's just an added layer of difficulty.
Yeah, it is. Right. For what reason? And of course people say, well, the titties they're very perky. They don't look like, if you look at like gorilla titties, they don't look like that. And it's like, okay, I'm an ape and my titties don't look like gorilla titties.
See?
So, I mean, why would a Bigfoot's titties look exactly like a gorilla's? That doesn't, why? It's not like a gorilla in any other way either.
Right. So. Well, this is the issue we have with people pretending like they know more about the biology of Bigfoot than they really do.
Exactly.
And we'll get into this more later, but this shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
Where people act like this is a real species that they fucking understand and they know how it should look and behave and all this stuff, but they don't know shit. Nobody knows shit. So yeah, those kinds of arguments are just infuriating.
I just, I very much try to keep a level head and come up with logical and reasonable explanations. And I'll give people credit where the credit's due. When it comes to the Patterson-Gimlin film, I have never come across one that couldn't be easily explained away with the facts. People assume that they know the facts, and I just haven't found one that makes sense. Even down to the titties. Yes, the titties are unusually perky, but we don't know. We don't know what the case. We don't know how old this thing is, so we don't know if it's older, if it's younger. We don't know if it's pregnant, if it had babies. We have no idea. We
Right.
don't know. And so we can't just go, okay, well, the titties look too good to be true. And they are covered in hair, and that is weird. Hairy titties is weird. But again, until we actually find a female Bigfoot body, we don't know. There's just not enough, and people are like, oh, well, Patterson, the guy that is making this fake Bigfoot movie, and, he just so happens to film Bigfoot. He's such a big Bigfoot guy. Well, who the fuck else is going to go out to the woods with a camera to film Bigfoot besides a Bigfoot enthusiast?
Thank you. That's what I've been saying. That's not a detraction from this story's validity. Like somebody who is trying to capture Bigfoot on film, capturing Bigfoot on film is just the process working as intended.
Right.
That shouldn't be evidence of fucking wrongdoing. Like, that's insane. That's so fucking backward. It
It's
just makes no
stupid.
sense.
It's just, so you tell me that when Tobias goes outside with his giant butterfly net, he ultimately catches the Mothman.
Right.
You're all going to be like, well, it's bullshit because he studied Mothman.
Yeah. Oh, you found a thing you're looking for?
Right.
Whatever, grifter. Get fucked. Like, dude, eat shit. That makes no sense.
No sense. None at all. So, I think it's safe to say that we are a Patterson Gimlin positive podcast.
Yes.
Say that 3 times fast. I just, that's what I measure Bigfoot to. Like, to me, in my mind, like, that is a genuine creature. That's what we're seeing. What is it exactly? I don't know. How does it work? I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. Patterson doesn't know. Gimlin doesn't know. And I've heard that he's a really awesome guy, Bob Gimlin. So if you ever have the chance to meet him, definitely do that. I haven't, unfortunately. Hopefully I will. We'll see. But so much content there that could be its own episode. Hell, I think we've even done its own episode here on this podcast.
You would need to get into everything. Yeah.
But there's just enough there. But if you have a compelling piece of evidence or rhetoric that points out to this being a hoax, let me know. I'd love that, because so far, like I said, everything that I have, it just makes sense. It makes sense. I believe that that's a Bigfoot on camera, and that's that. So again, that is what we measure Bigfoot to. Let's talk about, do you agree with that, Tobias? Do you agree that going forward, when we discuss Bigfoot and Bigfoot sightings, that the only thing we can compare it to would be Patty?
Oh, in terms of
just visually.
Okay, so like trying to correlate those sightings to
I was going to talk about the size next. So, like, in comparison to Patty, do you think that that's a good measure to go off of?
Well, it's all we have, right? So certainly, it's something of a double-edged sword here, right? So on the one hand, it's the only thing that we have to go off of right now in terms of relatively solid visual evidence, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's so popular that everybody's seen it. So yeah, like if somebody was reporting something that was very similar to Patty, then you could say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. That matches the evidence we have. This is more credible. Or you could say, oh, well, if they're making it up, then of course they used Patty as a reference and matched it to that. So now we don't know what to believe.
That's fair. I think that's fair enough. Well, like I said, in this case, I wanted to use it to talk about the size. Like I said, anywhere between 6 foot and 15 foot. We even have people that have seen Bigfoot as small as 3 feet.
Yeah.
All the
3
way
feet's more believable than 15.
To 15. I agree with that 100%. What do we know about Patty? We know that Patty is anywhere between 6'7" to about 7'2". And we know that because, like I said, we have the coordinates of where this is filmed. We can take measurements out there and kind of see what we were looking at, which is relatively small for the commonplace that we get for all of these tales about Bigfoot, I think. I feel like I commonly come across 8 to 9 feet. But
Yeah, I mean, people say that shit a lot. I think
they
6 to
do.
7 feet is probably,
Plenty big.
assuming that this thing exists, that's probably what the actual range is. Maybe 6 to 7, maybe up to 8 at the absolute biggest.
Yeah, I mean, and that's plenty big, right? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be bigger than that to be scary.
No.
Yeah. um, and I think that why do we think people exaggerate the size so much? I mean, there have definitely been studies done. We know that we are just a really bad judge of detail, and measurements tend to be one of those things. Some people say psychologically, of course, we make something bigger in our heads when it is scary to us. I mean, do you think that's a valid argument?
I absolutely do. This is what I think happens. I think people see this thing and they hyper focus on it. And when you do that, you can do this to any object. Just pick an object in the room you're in right now and stare at it and hyper focus on it and see how it seems to fill up your whole field of fucking vision. I think that's what's happening. I think people see this thing and they have an intense reaction to it, and they get this sort of tunnel vision because they are watching it so intently. And so that makes it seem a lot bigger than it is. So, I mean, keep in mind too, nobody is actually reporting their experience. And this might seem like splitting hairs, but nobody's really reporting their experience. They're reporting their memory of it. And so I'm sure in their mind, because of how intense the experience was and their hyperfixation on the object of their fear or whatever their response is, it seems a lot bigger, and so people tend to guess way fucking higher than is likely accurate. So you've got maybe, let's say, a 7.5 foot tall creature. That's enormous. Like, I'm 6'2". I have a buddy of mine who's 6'8", and he seems like a giant to me. And that's only 6 inches in height, right? And I'm already a fairly big guy. So 7.5 feet tall would seem like a goddamn giant. That would seem fucking enormous. Holy shit, would that seem huge. And so, yeah, somebody guessing like 9 feet tall or something, if you ask them to, sure, that doesn't seem unreasonable if they see this enormous thing that's bigger than anything they've ever seen, that they are hyper fucking focusing on because it's a goddamn Bigfoot. Yeah, of course they're going to guess big.
Yeah. And then, of course, different levels of elevation, depending on how far away it is from you. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of things that can make it appear larger than it is, and you just kind of guesstimate, right? And you're like, oh, that's how big it is. So we'll kind of use this to segue into the next portion of this. It's like when it's like how people don't really know how big 5 inches is.
True.
So, the average male penis, people think that it seems pretty small. Actually, I think it's not even quite 5 inches anyway. I think it's more like 3 now. And that sounds small to a lot of people. But then, like, you actually get like a 5 inch penis, and you're like, oh, that's not too bad. Then you get a 6 incher, and you're like, okay, that's about right. That seems right. Then you get 9 inches, and you're like, holy shit, that looks like 15, and it's not. It's only 9, right? We can do that also with height. We can do that with any object, because we are just notoriously bad at guesstimating size. That's just the way it is. It's just our brain.
That's true. Yeah, people are real bad at it.
We're real terrible at it. So, speaking of physical features, away from the Bigfoot titties, let's talk about Bigfoot's penis.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a perfect segue. You're already talking about dicks. So nobody's ever seen one. Nobody ever
finally
reports.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Nobody ever reports Bigfoot's big old hanging dong, right? Like, nobody ever says that. So with Patty, yeah, like, she's got visible, boobs, but there's no like hairy dick equivalent for Bigfoot sightings, right? But now we looked it up before the show. to see what was going on with like primate dicks, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that humans win again because we have the best out of all of the primate dicks. But some of them are weird, like dog dicks, right? Where they've got this sheath and it's mostly internal until it's erect and then it sticks out like a tube of lipstick. So I'm assuming Bigfoot has one of those. Bigfoot probably has a weird old pointy fucking dog dick that's just hidden all the time unless he's using it.
We did, for about a good half hour before even recording the show, talked about 8 penises and looked up different types of primate penises because we're so dedicated to the research here on Wednesdays We Talk Weird. I
take this very seriously. Yeah.
We had to do the deep dive, right? We got to answer the burning questions you guys have, and I know that you want to know about Bigfoot's cock. So, yeah, we did. No, we took a look at them. Do you know primate penises come in all shapes and sizes, but most of them are, they're small. Let's just got right to it. They're actually surprisingly very small. And yeah, some of them do seem to be in some type of sheath. Most of them seem to be in some type of sheath. Some of them are like double jointed, and I don't even understand what they do with them. Like, I don't know.
Can you imagine if dicks had knuckles? Like what? Like we can't have that.
You could like wave it around like on your like you would, I don't know, like your finger, I guess. Bend
That's
it around.
what I'm saying.
You could helicopter, but you wouldn't have to use your hips to do it. You would.
Yeah, no, fair.
Before on the show, we kind of came to, we had said before Bigfoot's penis is 2 bananas big. But, that's probably not the case. I guess where would he keep that thing?
It's probably the size of like a human's like pointer finger, I bet.
Right. It's just super small, probably.
It's just a little guy.
But it has definitely incited me and Tobias both to start asking people about Bigfoot's penis when they report new Bigfoot sightings. If you encounter a Bigfoot, please go for the crotch. Look for the crotch.
Right. I'm telling you right now that it's got like one of those chimpanzee dog dicks.
I hope for Bigfoot's sake he doesn't. But then again, he probably does.
Whatever.
If he is a primate, that is.
Fuck that guy. He could have come forward at any time, and we wouldn't have to do this. But instead, he's out there, fucking dicking around in the woods, hiding from everybody. And here we are.
We're calling you out, baby dicked Bigfoot. Prove us wrong.
Right.
Prove us wrong. Let me take a picture of it. That's the only dick pic I want to see.
He does have a weird dog dick, though. There's no way. That's what I am saying until proven otherwise. Bigfoot has a weird dog dick. Yeah, I think it is like a weird red dog dick that that looks like it's just got like a hairy sheath, and then like when he's using it, it comes out like a little like tube of lipstick, and it's all pointy and gross.
I think that, but it's blue, like a giant vein.
Oh, maybe it's blue.
Just to make it more nightmarish.
Right. I don't think that's normally the case, but anything goes. So sure.
Why not? I've never seen it, so who knows? It could be anything. So we're kind of, I think we're collectively also coming to the conclusion that Bigfoot just has a little small dog penis.
Yes, and Bigfoot has tiny baby weenus, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, we're going back on our word that we said before. Not 2 bananas.
I never said that. I would have told you that Bigfoot had a dog dick immediately if anyone had asked me.
That would have been your first thought,
right?
Fair enough. He's not a banana. He's a little. What are those little bananas? What are those called? Those little tiny bananas.
Oh, a plantain?
Yeah, he's got a little plantain penis.
He does. Plantain penis Bigfoot.
And that might be why he hides from us. And that's why Patty was out in the open, because she had big old knockers, right? She was thick. She had nothing to hide.
That's true. She had a lot to be proud of.
Right.
Really.
She was fun. That's why she turned around. She wanted us to see
sense. Maybe she was born with it. Maybe she's a Bigfoot.
Maybe she's a Bigfoot. So they're definitely mammals, okay? They're probably not laying eggs. My God, can you imagine?
Oh, God, yeah. Bigfoot just has like a cloaca.
Oh, no. That's horrible.
Yeah, those things are fucking gross.
Those really are very gross. One hole for everything. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, it's efficient.
Yeah, it is. It is efficient, that's for sure. But
it's a cloaca. It's cloaca.
whatever it is, it's one hole for everything. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's still gross.
It's really gross. But, birds have them. It's whatever.
Yeah, birds are gross.
Reptiles? Do reptiles have them? They do, right?
Probably.
They lay if they lay eggs. You know what? I'm going on to the next thing.
This is way outside of our wheelhouse.
Right,
We
we're
are
talking
not
about Bigfoot's
biologists.
tiny dog penis here, not his cloaca.
Trying to talk about Bigfoot, fucking tiny dog dick dong, not cloacas.
his little dinky dong. So there you go. There's that raunch for this episode. Don't let your kids listen to the show. My God. And if you do, that's your fault. We've said it before. We'll say it again.
Unless they're awesome, in which case, do whatever. Like, if they're cool enough to handle it, then give them a high five from me.
Then get the sex talk, and it's about Bigfoot and his cloaca.
Right.
Anyway, so going over more serious Bigfoot matters here. Of course, people ask, well, Tobias, where are the bodies? Why, if there's Bigfoot out there, and all these people are seeing it all the fucking time, right? Like they say on Reddit, where's the bodies?
Oh boy, I mean, do people expect a serious answer for that? Okay, it is. It is an issue, right? Of course
it is.
Like, nobody has, as far as we know, has ever found any Bigfoot remains. Certainly no credible evidence of Bigfoot remains has ever been presented to the scientific community. There are reasons presented for that, of course. People will claim that Bigfoot are intelligent, and so they bury their dead. Or even simpler, they will say that Bigfoot dies in relatively remote places, and nature will diffuse like a body pretty quickly and spread it out. And yeah, I mean, sure, maybe to both of those, but that is an issue that I have had, because what happens is, you have all of these reports from, Florida to Wisconsin, of these Bigfoot, right? And they're near populated areas. Yeah, they're not walking through the middle of Milwaukee or whatever, but they are near a bunch of small towns. They're in forests that people visit, obviously, because otherwise, how would they be fucking seeing them? And so, we find remains of other wildlife. Yeah, the reason I know that there are so many deer in the area is because I see all these dead deer. I see way more dead deer than I see fucking living ones, and that's true for a lot of animals.
Yeah.
So it is strange. So maybe they bury their dead. Maybe nature just takes their bodies apart, before we can ever find them. Now, we've never found any in the fossil record either,
right?
Which doesn't mean that they don't exist, but it is, it's another thing people point at, like,
right?
Why is there no Bigfoot in the fossil record? Like, why can't we see where this thing comes from or find evidence of it there? I don't have a good answer to that, other than if you want to get into really weird stuff, if you want to talk about Bigfoot as some sort of paranormal entity or from another parallel universe or some sort of like extra dimensional interloper or something like that, then sure. But otherwise, I don't know. I've never heard a very satisfying explanation for it.
I agree with that. It is troubling to think of. They could also eat their dead. We don't know.
They don't eat the bones.
They don't, but then other things do, so if they're quickly kind of disposing of the meats, and then, it just kind of speeds up that decomposition process.
Sure.
And out in the middle of fucking nowhere,
Right.
On top of that, like, I've never come across like a dead bear, granted, I don't live in an area that has a bear population. But I think a lot of people that don't typically come across like dead bears. I think that even if they did come across, I think people maybe have stumbled across Bigfoot bodies. and didn't really give it a second thought. And I don't mean like fresh, obviously. I think they have come across bones and things like that and just didn't really stop to think about it. I don't come across bones in the woods and immediately go, "Oh my god, I bet that's Bigfoot," and then to collect it and send it off to a lab for DNA testing.
Sure. I guess the question I'd have there though is if Bigfoot is a large primate, or at least like a large, humanoid, then you would think that the bones would appear similar to human bones.
Yeah.
In which case, why, if people are finding them, are they not reporting them? Because that does happen all the time. Is people will find weird bones in the wood. Like they'll find like a fucking cow femur or something, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, is that human?" And they'll call the police, and then the cops will have to come out and they'll have it looked at, and somebody will
Sometimes
have to
it
be like,
is
no,
human.
sometimes it is, but it could be just a bone from like a normal animal, like a large animal, like some kind of livestock or something. But yeah, but that does happen. So I would think that like if anybody was with any frequency coming across Bigfoot remains, even if it was just like a leg bone or something, they would be like, "Holy shit, is that a human bone? I gotta call the cops."
Yeah. And we've come across, I mean, I'm sure you've come across, and collectively, as a collective, we have come across people in the community that claim to find strange things. The first thing that comes to my mind is a guy claimed he had a Bigfoot toe.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I doubt anything's ever happened with it, because of course, you find this Bigfoot toe. You're not going to trust the government to test it, right? You're not going to trust anybody to test it out because they work for the government. Doesn't matter if they're a private lab or not. They work for the government. The government will hide it because the government will cover it up. But like, it's not a Bigfoot toe. It's like obviously like a petrified piece of wood or something.
Lyle Blackburn has a Bigfoot toenail, and I know because he sent me a picture of it.
Oh, that's 100% real. If Lyle Blackburn has it.
We both agreed that it had to be a Bigfoot toenail, because the alternative was that it was just some fucking gross dude's toenail, and that was too disgusting. So it has to be a fucking Bigfoot toenail. Has to be.
I'm gonna message him about his Bigfoot toenail.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. He messaged me a picture of it. It looks like a big old fucking gross toenail.
I'm gonna ask him to lick it. Take a video of him licking the Bigfoot toenail. But we come across these things a lot, and so far nothing conclusive. Obviously, things have been tested. Things haven't been tested, because then that breaks the illusion, right? This is not Bigfoot, but like there is the alleged Shunkawarakan body. I think that's up where you are, Tobias. I think that's in Wisconsin. Maybe it's not.
I don't know.
But it's like a dog. It's like a weird, extinct dog or something we haven't discovered. Anyway, there's like a taxidermy of this thing, and we could DNA test it, but because it sits in front of a shop, they don't want DNA tested. They don't want to ruin the mystery, right? That's their tourist attraction. They DNA test it, and it's just a fucking, like Kai dog or something, that they don't want to ruin that.
Solved mysteries don't make any money.
Exactly. So we get that a lot. We do. There have been some things that have been tested. The Yeti caps are like a popular thing, right? The head of a Yeti. We know that none of those so far have been legitimate. Just all kinds of random things throughout history that we know have not been. And it's not necessarily that people, purposefully try to dupe others. Now, there are people that do, and we're going to talk about that. But sometimes you do find something and you think it's anomalous, and then it just turns out it's not. There's a reasonable explanation behind it.
Right.
Where are the bodies? I don't know. I don't have the answer either. I mean, like I said, it could just be just the population is so small. It could be it's probably a collection of things. If it is a flesh and blood creature, okay, we'll say that. It's probably a collection of different explanations as to why we haven't found one yet. And then that just means it's only a matter of time before we do. And it just hasn't happened thus far. As far as like the fossil record and stuff goes, well, guys, not everything's been fossilized. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
The fossil record is incomplete in a number of areas.
Yeah.
So checkmate, atheists.
Right.
But
You showed them. You showed those
I know,
atheists.
I know, right? Oh God, no, that just reminds me because it's the same dumb fucking argument that like creationists use to be like, aha, science is missing one tiny piece of the puzzle, so that's how we know science is bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's just the laziest fucking thinking. Like, look, I I think that we would expect, given all of the primate ancestors that have been discovered, through fossils and such at this point, to have something more compelling to point towards Bigfoot. I don't know. I'm not a paleontologist.
Yeah.
I am not qualified myself to speak on the subject. I can only lean on the opinions of experts,
Yes.
and that's something that I've seen brought up that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't know why we aren't seeing more in the fossil record to point towards this divergent species of great ape or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. And it's an
So
argument that's, in this topic so much. I mean, that's why it has the name The Missing Link.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's not like this is it's not like we're talking about anything new here. There hasn't been anything new for a very long time.
it's true.
So it's all the same stuff. So let's kind of go over to, what you were saying, Tobias. Well, okay, another explanation would be, what is it? Well, no, let's not go there yet. Let's stick on the flesh and blood route a little bit.
Okay.
Wouldn't something of such massive size need a very massive diet in order to sustain itself?
Yes.
Yes, it would.
That's the same thing I talk about with almost any supposed, monster
Yeah,
that people think lives in a specific area. Where's the evidence of predation?
right.
What's the effect on the local prey population? That's something that's measurable, and more
It is.
importantly, it's something that people are actually really paying attention to.
Absolutely.
So we should know, and there does not seem to be any impact on local animal populations. So
There really doesn't. I mean, aside from maybe the stray cattle, killings and stuff like that. But of course, that's aliens or chupacabra. It's not Bigfoot.
I was
We
gonna
know
say, like,
that.
so Bigfoot just eats like one cow every 25 years.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, he's like the creeper from Jeepers Creepers.
There you go.
He only has to eat once, and then he's good for a while. No, but you're right. It is something that's measurable, and that is a problem. And it does, people don't like to hear it. I know you guys don't like to hear it. But that is something that the Bigfoot deniers definitely have going for them. They're not wrong about that. That's
Mhm.
fact. We don't see Bigfoot having an impact on the environment. We can pretty much track the dietary needs of all the animals living in a particular area, and something that large would need a very large diet. They would need a set amount of calorie intake in order to just even barely make it. I mean, and it's huge. I don't have the numbers on that. Someone else does, but yeah, that's hey, one for you, Bigfoot deniers. One for you.
I mean,
And
two with the missing body and fossil
sure,
record.
yeah.
Maybe
Well,
three if you separate fossil record from missing bodies.
nope, just two.
Boy.
Um,
Okay. Well, we'll say minimum of two, maybe three for Bigfoot deniers.
maybe three. So I mean, it's not like people are crazy for saying that they don't believe in this topic. It's not like there isn't a logical reasoning for them to say it. There's just no proof that it's here. Um, but it's not like people are crazy for saying that they've seen it themselves.
Right.
Again, this is probably the most popular bit of folklore out there. Everybody has a Bigfoot. Every country has a Bigfoot. Every historical people has a Bigfoot of some sort. People are definitely seeing something. So if we have no measure of physical evidence, and so far we don't, aside from potentially the Patterson Gimlin film, then what the fuck does that leave us with? Well, today's society, it has become very popular to believe in the interdimensional Bigfoot or the extraterrestrial Bigfoot or
I like
whatever.
extra dimensional Bigfoot.
Oh, okay, extra
Be,
dimensional.
well, be, just because that would imply that it's coming from another dimension into this one, or because it's from an outside dimension, right? So like extraterrestrial from outside of this planet,
Right.
extra dimensional outside of our dimension. Although like people tend to misuse dimension when they really mean parallel universe or something too.
Yes. God, don't get
Because
me started on that.
right. So like when you're talking about dimensional beings, right? Something that would be extra dimensional that utilizes interdimensional travel or something. Um, I mean, what that would really mean would likely be a creature that it probably exists on or in dimensions that we can't perceive, that are around us all the time. So like physically we're in 3 dimensions, right? And so if something was in, 5 dimensions, right? Like how would it interact with us? What are the things it would be capable of doing? It would be like us interacting with a 2-dimensional creature. If you could just imagine interacting with like this flat being that's essentially like a piece of paper, and how much freedom you would have to do whatever you want to it, because you have this whole other extra dimension of physicality to work with that it doesn't. So you would be able to do all kinds of shit. You could pop in and out of its fucking reality and it would seem like magic, and it wouldn't even be able to see all of you. It would just see the part that was in the dimensions it can perceive. So that's really what something like extra dimensional implies, is that kind of being. And I don't think that's what people are thinking of when they say, interdimensional or whatever, in terms of Bigfoot. I think what they're really talking about is Bigfoot coming from like a parallel universe or something similar. But who knows?
Well, and that's the problem, is that most people, when they talk about this stuff, don't even know that's what they're talking about. It's
Right.
the issue. And I'm not saying that to be like a snarky bitch or whatever. I'm not, I'm not saying that to be rude to anybody, but it is confusing. Quantum mechanics is so fucking confusing. There's that great quote. If you say that you understand quantum mechanics and you don't understand quantum mechanics, or
Yeah.
however it goes, because that's exactly the point of it, is that it's very confusing, and we are not meant to perceive other dimensions. That's the way it is. So when people talk about dimensions, dimension is a measure of space. Basically, it's a measurement and mastery of a space that you occupy, that you can perceive, and we can't perceive different spaces around us. It is very much geometrical, but like applied to the real world and not just to like graphics, and people don't get that. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because
No, I get it. I mean, it's worth talking about, and we need to reinforce this every time we can,
Mhm.
like every opportunity that we have, because people need to start using it correctly. They really do.
Yeah, they really do. But you're right. They often, get it confused with alternate realities, is what it is. Alternative
Right.
realities, and that's not the case. So, an extra dimensional Bigfoot could live here. They could live here on this planet. We just cannot perceive them. And that is just the easiest way to explain that. But other people also refer to it as spiritual as well, which could be extra dimensional. We don't know. We don't know. But anyway, there is a woo factor that some people ascribe to Bigfoot. And again, this theory seems to be growing in popularity, and probably because exactly what I keep saying this whole episode, nothing new has happened here. We have not made any type of crazy scientific strides. We've not had anything nearly as good as the Patterson Gimlin film come out since it came out. We've not found bodies. We even had the DNA test that happened, and my God, that would require its own episode. But the DNA study that was going on back in I think it was it's like the late 2000s, early 2010s, the Erickson Project, and that has its own fucking bag of issues to it. It wasn't groundbreaking like it should have been, right? It started off great, and then it just, I don't know what the fuck happened, but it went off the rails. But of course, even their explanation was like, I think they ended up saying there were Nephilim. Oh, geez, which is a word I hate.
Oh, well, we solved it, everybody. It's some biblical shit.
Of
Good,
course.
that we also have no proof of. Awesome.
Great.
Case closed.
But of course now people are getting tired. They're getting tired of us not having physical evidence. So I can see why people are more willing to jump ship and grab onto the woo of the Bigfoot. And I don't blame them. But it's not just the basic explanations itself. We do have people who claim to have encounters with these things that also experience high strangeness, like orbs.
Yes.
People, describe seeing Bigfoot, and they are surrounded by these orbs. They're carrying the orbs. They're creating the orbs. They're coming out of the orbs. It just depends on the experience.
Yes. Why is it always orbs?
It's always
The Tobias
orbs.
Whalen story.
And so I mean, you have people that claim to have interactions with with aliens, and maybe they see Bigfoot coming out of an alien ship. There's the Presque Isle incident where the couple saw the UFO crash or land into the woods, and then also encountered a Bigfoot at the same time. What are the fucking chances of that happening? Which was investigated by that was in Project Blue Book. That was a part of Project Blue Book. Um, you got people that see into windows of spaceships and they see fucking Bigfoot on the ship. What the hell's going on there? What is happening? You know? You've got what's his name, Tim Renner. He is doing research into people that have Bigfoot encounters who then go home and go on to have poltergeist activity in their house. Definitely, check out what are they called? Where the footprints end.
Where the footprints end. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Timothy Renner and Joshua Cutchin
Yep.
teamed up for that 2-volume series. It is the definitive work on high strangeness Bigfoot.
Very good
So
stuff. Yeah.
if you haven't read that, you're not even prepared to have the conversation yet.
Right. Yeah. Definitely check out. And again, yeah, two parts to it. Read both. Check that out for sure if you're not familiar. But what's the deal with that? I mean, it I don't like it. I'll be honest. Just something in my brain. Just I think it's because I have that bias and I grew up with Bigfoot being an undiscovered animal, and I
Right.
always wanted to die on that hill. But the more and more you think about it, the more it makes sense for it to be something else.
I've seen too much at this
Right.
point. I've got too many reports. And it's not just Bigfoot. You see that kind of associated paranormal phenomena across the board.
Yeah.
Like you'll have that reported from everything, or as a part of everything, from alien abduction to Mothman sightings, and ghosts and hauntings, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's just like orbs, like it's fairly ubiquitous across phenomena. And so it's a real head scratcher, but the solution isn't to ignore it. Like that's what the materialists want to do. They want to just pretend like it doesn't exist and ignore it and it'll go away. I don't think that's the right call.
No.
I think that we can't, and it doesn't have to be. Look, people always want to categorize things and separate things into different boxes and say this is this and that is that, and ne'er shall the twain meet. But look, if you're willing to even consider the idea of parapsychological phenomena, I don't know why anybody would think that it's exclusive to humanity. We're just animals, like every other fucking animal, every other one, And so I don't know why we would be the only ones that experience it or that have that association with it, So by parapsychological phenomena in this context, I'm talking about things like telepathy and telekinesis and similar, So who knows? I mean, maybe Bigfoot is a otherwise mundane biological species with parapsychological abilities that either we don't have or we're just not nearly as good at. I think most people have probably experienced, something akin to precognition or something at least once or twice in their life. But maybe Bigfoot is fucking awesome at it, just super good at it. And that's how they always avoid us. And that's how they're able to, make people afraid or, produce weird poltergeist effects in people's houses, if they happen to live nearby or something similar. Who knows? If they are extra dimensional, like we talked about, then they could do probably pretty much anything and they would seem like fucking gods. So there's really nothing more to say about that necessarily. But yeah.
I have a theory.
Sure.
And I like to share it. I like to talk about it. And, much like my problem with ghosts, right? It can change. But my theory is that it's both. Man, people don't like that one, which is crazy because I'm validating all of you. I don't know what you want from me. But I have a reasonable explanation for why it's both. I think that there is a flesh and blood North American undiscovered species of ape. I think that they're not very large, for one. I think 6 foot and under is more accurate. As crazy as that sounds to a lot of people, because I know you guys love your 15-foot Bigfoot.
Except for Patty, she's taller than that.
Except for, she is taller than that, but she could be, I don't know, she could be the one tall Bigfoot that's out there.
Just say 7 feet and under, or 8 feet and under. 7.5 feet and under.
Just so I can please you, Tobias, 7 foot and under. Like I said, it can change. Fuck. I don't know. I'm not the definitive authority on Bigfoot.
It's fine. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
But no, I think they're smaller than what we typically think that they are, and I think that they do exist. I think they're in very small population, or potentially even they are now extinct and have gone extinct in very recent years.
Okay.
So, I think that is a possibility. And I think that, again, the collection of, well, where's the bodies? What about the food situation? I think that, first of all, they migrate. That's why they're really hard to track. I think they constantly have to be on the move because something ecologically in them, they evolve to have to migrate because, they have this instinct where they know they'll fucking eat everything in one area if they don't. And that's not going to do good for their survivorship. So they're going to keep moving. But I think that because Bigfoot is so prevalent in our pop culture, and because it is something that is unusual for us, not entirely impossible, right? It's a pretty divided. Most people generally kind of want to believe in Bigfoot. And I mean, I know that because I kind of mentioned to you guys, I'm going to start asking your opinions on topics before we record about them. And I did that, of course, on my social medias today. And people have different mixed opinions. Very rarely did someone say they don't believe in it, but then again, they follow me, so they probably are going to. But most people just said they believe in it because they want to. So most people are able to accept the idea of Bigfoot. I think that the phenomena is what I like to call it. Knows that we have this legend, right? They know that we have this lore, and I think that it might present itself to you as Bigfoot because it wants you to know that you're seeing something significant, but can't necessarily reveal itself either because we can't perceive it anyway, or whatever woo answer you want to put there.
Like ultra terrestrials.
Right. So it will replicate. Yes, it will replicate the phenomena, and then you see something that doesn't quite make sense with traditional Bigfoot lore.
Sure.
Like it hanging out with orbs or driving UFOs or whatever. So I think both can be true. Why not? Why can't they? That's my explanation for it anyway.
Sure. I could buy that. I think Ken Gerhardt and I we've had a similar conversation a couple of times. And I think that's where a growing number of people are sort of landing on it, is trying to maintain both hypotheses simultaneously, where on the one hand, you've got cases that seem to point towards a biological species, and then you've got these high strangeness reports and just having separate explanations for them and then how they might be related somehow. Sure.
Right. I mean, I don't think that is a far stretch, and it's totally okay if you as the listener, if you fall into one camp or the other, or maybe you fall right down the middle into both. Maybe you're an investigator and maybe you fall right into both. That's fine. That just means that you become really fucking good at, being a flesh and blood Bigfoot hunter, or you become really fucking good at being a woo Bigfoot person. That's okay. We need all of us together to kind of solve this mystery. So we need people to get really fucking good at certain topics, right? It's part of
what my question is going to be, though, for people. What kind of dick does Bigfoot have? And that's how I'm going to judge them, is their response to that. I'll be like, what does Bigfoot's dick look like? Wrong answer, punk. And then that'll just be the end of it.
And then you start sending people dicks in their inbox, but it's of dog dick.
Yeah, it's just gonna be fucking weird dog dicks. Yes.
Or proper primate dicks. I guess you could send pictures of those if you wanted to.
Sure.
But nobody wants to look at that nightmare fuel all the time.
I mean, none of them look good.
We're a
like-
little more accepting of dog dick though than primate.
Yeah,
We see
true.
them in the wild, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen bullets way more than I wanted to.
Right. You're like, sir, excuse me. I did not consent to this.
Right. But he's just like, dude, I'm not even wearing pants. What did you think was going to happen? You're going to see my dick, all right?
Right. You brought me here. That's if you want to talk about consent, okay.
This is on you, buddy. Every time he gets a fucking boner, he just makes eye contact and he's like, this is your fault.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, though. Guys, what do you think Bigfoot's dick looks like? I think that the flesh and blood Bigfoot has a little tiny wiener, and then the woo Bigfoot has the really big dick.
Oh, Woo Bigfoot has whatever kind of dick you want Bigfoot to have.
It has like the duck dick, so it's like the corkscrew.
Maybe if that's what you think it should have, that's what it's going to have.
Even they don't know. They're like, we don't know what his dick looks
Right.
like. I don't.
That's why, I'd be reporting, I don't know, just weird shit now, because I'd be like, what if Bigfoot's dick was a Pez dispenser? Just whatever.
It's a tongue. He has a second tongue.
Horrible. That's like fucking body horror shit.
It is. It's a steel pipe. It could be anything. It could be whatever you want it to be. And
Steel pipe. Talk about a hard on, am I right?
That's right.
Ew.
And the ultra terrestrials just looking at each other like, have you seen Bigfoot's dick? And they're all like, no, I don't know.
I'm literally a ball of light, dude. I don't even know what a dick is. Like, what are we talking about?
I have a cloaca. I don't know. That's what I think. The orbs have cloacas. That's for sure.
hope
That's
so.
a fact.
I'm adding it to my headcanon right now.
Yeah, it's a fact. That's a very important. That's the most important question I think we've had for anybody listening to the show ever.
Absolutely. It's going to determine my first impression of
Yeah.
all people from now on.
God, you know what you just did for yourself? Now people are gonna come up to you at fucking conferences and be like, "I think Bigfoot's dick looks like," but then that might be a good thing because then people will be coming over to the table and shit. Like,
Yeah.
what? You guys talking about Bigfoot's dick?
Yeah, totally. Finally, like having real conversations. We can get into it.
And then all the questions that you get at your talks are gonna be about Bigfoot's penis.
Yeah.
You're
We
gonna
need to have open and honest conversations about this. It's
You're
about
gonna
time.
have to make a lecture just about Bigfoot's dick, the taxonomy of Bigfoot
should.
dick. It's-
Would anybody be brave enough to allow me to present that?
But that's why you don't tell them. You just spring it on them, like Bigfoot does with his
Yes.
dick, right? You just spring it on them. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna talk about Mothman or whatever," and they're like, "Oh, great!" And then you come in, "Okay, here it is." Real time.
Yeah, I'll just spring it on him like Bigfoot's dick out of its weird hair sheath.
It's-
Surprise!
you make like a 3D model.
It's literally just like one of those push-up fucking ice cream things. Where I'm just like, see, so it emerges from the hairy sheath just like this push-up from the cardboard tube.
I was gonna say that it's like one of those door stoppers, the boing doings.
Yeah.
This is it, accurate size and all.
Yeah. So yes, 1-to-1. Yeah, matches up perfectly.
So, moving along here.
Right.
Let's start with our cool down conversation. I can't believe we started talking about Bigfoot's dick again. This is the third time tonight.
we gotta end it. We gotta.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Right.
So, of course, a woo Bigfoot is hard enough. Okay, regular Bigfoot is hard enough to sell. A woo Bigfoot is even harder to sell to the general population, right? And it's just getting worse and worse as time goes on, because what we do have is not so much a bucket of evidence. We probably have a solo cup of evidence for Bigfoot. However, we have a fucking warehouse size of hoaxes right?
True.
And I was kind of going to get into some a little bit. I know it kind of teased talking about the Georgia Bigfoot body, but you pretty much heard it. They said they had Bigfoot's body. They didn't. It was just a costume, and that was it. It was not real.
Yeah, they like isn't that the one they kept in the chest freezer?
Yeah. Sold it
Yeah.
to some guy, and he didn't fucking know until after he'd already bought it. He's halfway home when it was unthawing. It's a rubber costume.
It's just shameful. Yeah, you see a lot of that shit though. Now it's all AI pictures on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, AI pictures. I'm sure videos are, fake videos have always been a thing, right? People in costumes and stuff like that. I mean, Bigfoot hoaxes are plenty. There's plenty out there that you can dig into, and of course others that we haven't so much totally debunked. But of course, people question it now. If you've been lied to so many times, you're not going to trust shit that people put out there. So that's not good. That's not a good look for us. And we even see people that go up to bat for alleged, Bigfoot researchers who have been known to be frauds or hoaxers.
Mhm.
I am gonna throw one name out there: Todd Standing. Todd
Mhm.
Standing has a very divided audience. You have most people who realize that he hoaxes shit, and then you have this weird camp of people who will fucking die and be buried on the hill that he is legitimate, that the things he's presented are legitimate. And man, that hurts the community, because if there's even so much of a sniffle of hoax to anybody's work, but you just can't trust them anymore. You just
Right.
can't. You know, that's a problem. That's a big problem we have, and I get it. You, as the audience that is coming into this, you should be able to trust us, right? When we give you information, we should be giving you good enough information. But the fact of the matter is that again, the reality doesn't tend to sell as much as the hoax does, at all. And so you're going to have people that are in it for very selfish reasons, and you're going to have people that are going to deceive you, and they're going to trick you, and maybe they started off great, and maybe they just went fucking downhill. Who knows why people do it? I don't know. There's a number of reasons, but we're never going to make any headway, for this as a science, if we continue to let it happen, and we continue to give support to the people who are doing this stuff.
I agree. I wish people were more discerning. I wish that there was a higher level of education available on how to spot hoaxes and how to think critically and how to examine evidence. I think that's why it's more important than ever that we hold each other accountable. So, the people who are public figures in this field, we need to hold each other accountable. If you see somebody who is sharing stuff that is bullshit, even if it's privately, just check in and be like, hey, do you know that this is bullshit? And if they don't, then you can hopefully educate them. And if they do, to never support that person's work ever again.
Right. I mean, it's just, and people can be mistaken. That's not to say that people can't
happens.
be led astray. It does happen. But, look at people like fucking Coyote Peterson and his Bigfoot. Remember that? When he
Oh,
fucking,
yeah.
had found the Bigfoot skull and it wasn't? Fuck that guy. Nobody should be watching that guy's shit anymore.
Yeah. Well, he knew that it was fake, and it was just to get views on his YouTube channel. So.
Exactly. That it was deceptive on purpose. And
Right.
we shouldn't hate watch people. God, please don't hate watch people unless you're hate listening to the show. Then keep that shit up. But don't hate watch
Yeah.
people.
That's just regular watching. They don't know that you're hate watching. They just get the fucking views and the advertising dollars.
Yeah, right. You're not hurting my feelings when you listen to the show because you don't like me. Thank you
No.
for your service.
Please do recruit more people who don't like us to listen
Yes.
too.
Tell them all. It would really hurt our feelings if they all listen to the show. It would just be terrible.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's revenue. It doesn't hurt anybody by doing that. Yeah. So stop hate watching people, anybody, whoever it is. You're only helping them, and stop watching people like Coyote Peterson and just being like, oh, well, he lied that one time and that sucked and I was mad. But now I'm going to go back to it. It's been long enough. We shouldn't be so forgiving about stuff like that. I'm just using him as an example. I'm sure he's a nice guy that did a very wrong thing. I'm not saying he's a bad, terrible person, but it was deceptive as shit. I don't watch
Sure.
them.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't. He just doesn't take the subject seriously. Is what
Yes,
it comes down to. Is
I
he's
agree
like,
with that.
I'm into real biology.
Yes,
And so he's like, well, Bigfoot is already stupid and fake. So who cares if I say I found a Bigfoot skull? It's stupid and fake.
yeah,
And I don't have time for people like that because I think that
no,
attitude fucking sucks.
yeah,
Uh, and it's fucking ignorant and gross.
yeah,
But I understand that people like that exist and whatever. That's fine. I'm not gonna go to bed mad about it.
no, no, not at all. I mean, but you're right. We have to hold each other accountable, and that's just a big part of it. And that's something that we talk about a lot on the show. I feel like it's kind of been the theme of the show for the last forever since it's been a
Right.
thing. Holding people accountable. Again, people can make mistakes. They can be mistaken. They can be deceived. Bob Gimlin has even said he doesn't know if he was deceived or not. He doesn't believe that he was. He has no reason to believe that he was. But in all honesty, he has no clue if what he saw was a Bigfoot or if he was part of being duped, just like the rest of us.
Sure.
Um,
That's
and
honest, at least.
it is. It is. So, I don't know. Whatever it is that you guys believe in, that's fine. You can believe in whatever you want to. Maybe you believe that Bigfoot is your mom. I don't know. Fucking know you. I don't know your life. I've never met your Bigfoot mom before. Um, you know,
Right.
maybe it's true. If it is, send me a hair sample. Let's figure it out. Um, so
Tell us what her dick is like.
ask your mom to show you her dick, and then tell us what it looks like. We need to know. It's for science. Okay, it's very serious here. But yeah, any final words on Bigfoot or Bigfoot
Oh boy.
dicks or dicks
Oh
in general?
god.
Dicks in general.
Well, I mean, we've already taken up enough time. I can't just get started on dicks in general. No, I think when it comes to Bigfoot, I think that, like you said, the field has been stagnant for so long that we need fresh approaches to this topic. So I hope that anybody listening, if they take anything away from this other than Bigfoot's weird dick, it's that it's okay to get weird with this subject. And at this point, since nothing is proven and we have so little evidence, it's okay to try new things, go in new directions, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because the embedded culture in this field right now is run by people who are in the business of making money on Bigfoot never fucking changing and no new developments. So you got to buck that system. Otherwise, it'll probably just stay stagnant forever.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, we haven't come to any new conclusions, so let's go ahead and let a fresh air of perspective come into place, and let's just see where it goes. Why not? It's not going to hurt anything.
Exactly.
It might actually help. So, yeah, stay open minded. Like we say, keep an open mind, but not so open your brains fall out. Right.
Oh yeah.
Keep that in mind in your back pocket at all times. But at the end of the day, fucking have fun with Bigfoot. Why not? Why not? You can have fun with Bigfoot, even if his dick is weird. You don't have to look at it. That's what a sheath is for. Anyway, before I make more Bigfoot content, Bigfoot dick content specifically, and it gets sold without my permission, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode there. With that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.